Hey, it's Lauren. I wanted to film a look that focuses predominantly on a brand that most people know and a lot of people love, but I feel like it's fallen out of favor in the last, I don't know, decade, and that is MAC Cosmetics, you guys. So when I was younger, MAC was like the jam. Like everybody wanted to get MAC makeup. Everybody wanted to get their prom makeup from MAC. MAC was the real deal. Everybody went there. And then I feel like Sephora really kind of blew up and people kind of stepped away from MAC and started going to all the brands that were available in Sephora and even Ulta. And honestly, it's kind of a shame because MAC products are pretty dope. So this is it's different than what I had before. Pro Longwear Nourishing Waterproof Foundation. And so I'm just taking a flat brush. And the nice thing about this formula in particular is that it is kind of a medium to full coverage. Like as you can see, I'm not going to need a concealer with this, but it also blends out pretty easily as well. So like, fun little story. I recently was on the hunt for kind of a brownish nude lip liner. And as luck would have it, everywhere is sold out of that because everybody is like into all things 90s right now. And I literally could not find a brown lip liner anywhere. So went to my local MAC and I was like, hey, do you have this shade Oak? No, they didn't have it. Went to the MAC in Macy's. No, they didn't have it. But they did have some other stuff that I was like, you know what? Like I kind of want to play with some MAC makeup again. So I bought a whole bunch of MAC. And the girl that helped me was just like the absolute sweetest. And she was like, why don't I, get your number and I'll text you when we get it back in stock. And I was like, yeah, like I've never had anybody ever offer to do that for me. And so, of course, she texted me when Oak came back in stock. And you guys, like that is customer service, okay? That is like old school department store, like level of customer service. And you know what? Like, it's awesome. She is not pushy anytime I've gone in there. So helpful. Absolutely love that. Okay, so as you can see, this totally like gave me a nice blank canvas to work with. So easy to work with. And the nice thing about this formula too is waterproof and it's like not super oily. And so I actually had this on earlier today and it really wore without giving me any issues. As you can see, I'm just kind of going in where I need that extra coverage. Pop that on there. So like that's the great thing about MAC, right? Is that this was made to be like camera ready makeup. Next, I'm gonna pop on some Mineralized Skinfinish in the shade Medium Plus using a 129S brush. And I like this formula because it's not as flat as the original Studio Fix. The original Studio Fix was one of the very first like foundations that I used, and it's super duper matte. And I'm turning 30 in a few months and I'm embracing things that are a little softer, a little more radiant. I find that in my fine lines around my eyes and all that kind of stuff, it just sits better and it kind of bounces the light out of the shadows that you see in any kind of lines or wrinkles. I'm not like super wrinkly or anything like that, but like I do have some fine lines around my eyes. And so I like to kind of get that light popping, not highlighted, just kind of bounce it out of there. So yeah, the original Studio Fix was like one of the very first foundations that I ever used. And that stuff is like super heavy duty coverage for a powder. It's impressive and it will completely kill the shine on your face if you're overly oily or dewy. That's a really, really great like starter foundation. It's not a liquid, so it's a little bit easier to manage when you're kind of new to makeup. So Now I'm going to go in with MAC Hushed Tones Extra Dimension Blush. I think this is also part of the Mineralize line. I'm going to take a MAC 132S brush. This brush is nice because you can use it with both liquids and powders. And I like this tone. I got this because it's a little bit different than a lot of stuff that I have. Like I kind of always stick with like pinks and peaches and like a rose color, and this is like got a little attitude and I like it. The nice thing about this formula too is like it has some luminosity to it without being like glittery. But what I like so much about it is that I can put this on and I actually just skip using a highlighter with this. I'm all about products that kind of are multi-purpose and eliminate the need for multiple items in my kit. And like obviously like I could go in with like a serious highlight on top of that, but I just don't think I need it, to be honest with you guys. But yeah, I love this shade. It's kind of got this like warm bronzy, slight rosy undertone. And I just really, has the rosy undertone, all right? But it's got a kind of a bronzy effect, which I really like. Just gonna build it up where you need it. Cute, cute. Okay, now, other things from MAC that I hadn't used before and they're kind of new to me are the paint pots. And so I got the shade Painterly, which has been awesome underneath eyeshadows, especially if you are like me and you have some discoloration and you can see the veins through your eyelid. I think a lot of people have that. And sometimes I just kind of roll with that and it really adds to like a purple eye. If I have like a like purple eyeshadow that I want to use, I just kind of leave that color shining through from my natural eyelids. But the Painterly paint pot is great because it really does add some grip and it really helps your shadows to pick up that color a little bit better. Let me give you a little demo. So I'm going to take a little bit of Painterly paint pot and put it on my hand. And you really can't see it. You can kind of see where it kind of mattified my hand a little bit, right? So what I'm going to do is take an eyeshadow that I'm going to use. Actually, I'm going to use a different color because I really want you to be able to see how this grabs differently. So let me see. I'm going to take a little tiny angled brush and I'm going to dip in. I'm going to use this kind of like bright, like ruby color. And what we're going to do. So here's the Painterly paint pot swatch on my hand, right? I'll show you what that looks like there. And then we're going to go right next to it. And look how differently the pigment grabs. But I want you to also know with the Painterly paint pots, it's really easy to blend over them too. I think my biggest concern when I was getting this was that it would just stick to where that paint pot was and then not be blendable on top of it. But I've actually found that you really can blend easily, and look how it just kicks up that metallic quality of that eyeshadow. That's one of those things that like I never realized before that I really needed in my kit was some type of a primer on my eyelids, but this has made all the difference in my eye looks, especially because I'm kind of getting back into using palettes again. Okay, so this is Lady Gaga's line, Haus Laboratories. I talked about this in a recent video. This is Glam Room #1, the Fame palette. And so I'm just going to take a large fluffy brush and pop this on. Not be too perfect with it. We're going to just, you know, make it a nice quick wash of color. I've been reading the Kevyn Aucoin book. And he does, is Making Faces. I had to think between the two books. There's Making Faces and Face Forward. And I have Making Faces, which I believe was his first book. And he does a lot of different recreations of celebrity makeup styles. And there's one where it's like very obvious, like Marilyn Monroe inspired. And he talks about using lighter shadows overall. And she actually would extend this out a bit, right? and kind of like out and down. And it created almost like a shadow effect, as if her mascara was just like, her lashes were like so long and you would see like that shadow. I might actually add a different shadow there too, just to kind of play up the effect, but I think it was just so much fun. I'm really into like looking up retro makeup styles and techniques right now, and like trying to find books on it. So if anybody has some book recommendations for that, I would love to see it. But you can kind of see it creates that little shadow effect. And I'm gonna take a smaller brush and do kind of the same idea there. I'm gonna use that same domed brush that I had earlier, but I'm gonna dust off all that excess. And I'm gonna go with this color. I'm just kind of wing it here. Just playing at this point, just for fun. Honestly, you could even do this with an eyeliner and I think you would get a stronger effect, but I want to keep it very soft. I talked about it in my recent review, but I love this palette so much. So much. It's a fantastic palette. Now I'm going to take a slightly smaller brush. I'm going to go in with this kind of pinky, it's not even a champagne color, it's just like a really soft pinky shimmer. We'll put this on the lid, but what I'm going to do is almost drag it up at like an angular point. This was kind of another thing in the book that he talked about, kind of having that like arced and then like slope kind of effect. Fantastic book if you are new to makeup and wanting to learn more about different techniques. I think even as someone who, I'm not a professional makeup artist by any means, but I've been doing a lot of different types of makeup for, you know, most of my life, and I'm still learning new things all the time. And I think it's a fantastic book if you are starting out and trying to learn the basics and you really want your makeup to look really nice. There was a documentary on Hulu about Kevyn Aucoin, and it was honestly like so heartbreaking to watch, just like kind of his like rise to fame and then downfall before his untimely death. But man, he was talented, like so talented. So to have his books and get that wealth of knowledge from someone who was so skilled at their craft, highly recommend the book. I actually found it at a half-price books recently, so I got it for I think like $10. It was not super expensive. I'm just taking what's left on my brush at this point and popping that under the brow bone for that extra kind of highlighted effect. And then I'm going to take that slightly larger fluffy brush again and just kind of marry the two. No hard lines, no weird gaps. All right, so now I'm going to take a gel liner. This is like probably my favorite style of liner, is like the little gel or cream in the pot and using a brush. This is not MAC, this is LA Girl. Let me look it up. LA Girl Gel Eyeliner. It's just their basic black. And I'm taking a MAC 209 brush, very small angular brush. The reason I like this style of eyeliner is because I do have long eyelashes. And anytime I have an eyeliner that you have, like, that stays down dipped into a tube, kind of like a mascara wand, and then I try to drag that along here, whatever is on the wand catches on my eyelashes, and it like tangles my lashes together, and then when I go to put mascara on, it's a clumpy hot mess. So when I can, I try to use either something like this that I have on a brush, so there's not excess product all the way up here. It's very, very controlled and close to the lash line. Or I like a pen style where, again, it's kind of the similar concept to having it on a brush where it's all just concentrated right in that little tip and it's not gonna get all caught in between my lashes. So let me put on this eyeliner. And since I'm kind of going with that like retro look, kind of a retro Marilyn effect, I'm going to focus predominantly on the outer half of my lashes and eye and do just like a little tiny baby wing. All right, there you have it. I actually really like this eyeliner. It's not expensive. I think it was like less than $7, and it stays on really, really well. I also really like the Maybelline version of this too. And this is totally off subject, but I joined TikTok and have been like more active on there. And I was showing my husband some different stuff, and he like made an account to start like following me. And I'm shooting this video and I'm listening to him watching TikTok in the other room, and I'm cracking up because I have completely lost him to it. It's hilarious. If you're not on TikTok, and especially if you're a millennial, don't judge it, all right? It's actually really, really fun, and I have really enjoyed being on there. And it's just, most of it's really lighthearted, and I feel like a lot of social media platforms, when they first start out, kind of start that way, and then things get really heavy and political. And like, that's something I love so much about TikTok, is that it's not that way. For the most part, it's just like really light and fun and just kind of silly and happy. And it's like such a nice escape from more serious platforms. So if you're not on TikTok, get one. It's so great. Okay, let's do some brows. Now, this is something I have really, really been loving lately. It's the NYX Lift and Snatch. And let me just tell you, before I tried this product, I really did not like most brow pens or markers. I felt like they either were too thick and would make like really awkward looking strokes that did not look like hairs, or they were like shiny and I could like see them glistening through my brows, almost like a pomade, which I'm also not a huge fan of. Like, it's kind of glistening because it's still wet, but once this dries down, it just looks very, very natural after you brush through. So I would argue that this is like one of my favorite brow products lately. This and like a traditional, like a brow gel or fiber, I'm all about it. I've also been kind of embracing like a slightly straighter brow. I've like let my natural brows fill in a little bit over the last year, and I just really like how fresh it looks to have a slightly lower arch. My brows naturally are pretty arched and pretty a high peak, but change is good, you know? All right, so I always like to kind of take a sit back and look at the brows to kind of see the overall shape and make sure that they kind of look related. It's kind of ballpark it. It doesn't have to be perfect. So now what I'm going to do, if I could find one, is take a spoolie. Where did my spoolie go? There it is. Oh God. Got some lashes attached. My station is a little chaotic right now. So what I really love though is like brushing through this once you get it all on there, and it really just softens out the overall strokes. I think like what happens with these pens is like some of it goes on your skin, and then some of it I think gets kind of stuck on the eyebrows. And so when you spoolie it through it, it just really softens out any hard lines. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of a brow gel. This is the Merit 1980 Brow, and I believe this is the shade Blonde. Just going to kind of fluff through, keep my brows really nice and soft. Okay. Before I go into mascara, I'm going to do a little bit of the MAC Prep and Prime on my lips. This was totally an upsell from my MAC girl. But I had said to her that like, I don't like liquid lipsticks because they always feel like dry and crusty and gross, and I cannot stand how that feels. So she was telling me about this product, and she said that like, when you use this, it makes wearing liquid lips so much more comfortable, and that also any lip products that you put on after putting that on, they'll last longer, they'll look smoother, it just is all around better. And like, you know, I've been resistant to primers of any type for whatever reasons over the past few years. And then like, for some reason I thought Painterly Paint Pot would be a great idea. And so then she upsold me on that and I was like, okay, fine. I love priming my eyes and my lips now. And like, I don't worry so much about skin primers most of the time because I focus on my skincare. But like, these things have made a huge difference. So I'm going to take that oak pencil that I waited like 9 years to get and line my lips. Tell me that is not like such a great base for like a 90s lip. You could even go darker. Like they have one that's called Cork, which also is like such a great brownish base. But I love this because if I do a brighter eye look, which I didn't today, but if I do a brighter eye look, I don't want a really loud lip most of the time. And I just don't have any really muted pencils. So this is like such a perfect shade. Like I would say that most of the other like muted pencils that I have still have like a pinkish kind of undertone to them. And I really just want something that's just gonna kind of disappear. Not like concealer lips, but like just not a loud lip color. Now I'm gonna take the Viva Glam 2. Side note, they did away with the Viva Glam 5 and I am heartbroken and I'm still upset about it. I'm not okay with it, MAC. Like I want that color back. This is also nice though. It's very, very nude. Without being ghostly. Yep, that's a good one. Now, I tried this earlier and I really, really liked it. So what I'm going to do is take the Haus Laboratories Le Riot Lip Gloss in the shade Luxe Life, which is what was in my review. What I like so much about this shade is that it's definitely like a kind of a nudie kind of brownish color, but it has this pink pearl to it and it just kind of adds a little something, a little life back to the lips so they're not just like flat and like too teddy bear colored. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm like looking at this. We gotta lift that back up a little bit. It's making my eyes look a little sad and heavy, which that's kind of like the whole thing with like the Marilyn look, is that like she had that really soft, dreamy, doe-eyed kind of thing going on all the time. But like, I don't want it to like look, you know, we don't want to look sad. We want like slightly sleepy, not sad. Okay, now I'm going to finish this whole look with some Jones Road Beauty mascara. Love this stuff. If you have watched my videos, you know how much I love this stuff. So let's do it. Tell me that's not amazing. It's like 2 swipes and it's a beautiful like false lash effect. Notice I didn't even redip. All right. Here is the final look. You guys, MAC. We're bringing back everything else from the 90s, like the Rachel hair, you know, the big volume, the center parts, all that other jazz. Let's bring back MAC because this stuff is like so good. It wears incredibly well. It looks flawless and airbrushed. And you guys saw it, like this was not a complicated face, but the way that it comes out is just, you don't have to fuss with it so much. It's not a difficult line to use, but you get that professional result. And they've always had a really wide range of shades. They have so many versatile, bright colors to play with if that's your thing. They have great nudes if that's your thing. It's a little something for everyone, okay? And I really do love it. Their brushes are also amazing. Like, that has been something that I've kind of like played around trying a lot of different brushes and lines and things like that. And I've recently bought like several MAC brushes, and they're all fantastic quality. So highly recommend. If you're wanting some new makeup to try that's not like a celebrity line at Sephora, go to your local MAC counter. Make friends with whoever is working there. I guarantee you they're going to be so happy to help you, and you're going to be happy with your purchase. So if you enjoyed this, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps other people find my channel. I love doing this type of content for you. None of this is sponsored. I don't think, I'm looking at my setup. None of this is gifted either. Like, I purchase all this myself. Yeah, this video should have happened earlier today, but I'm a stay-at-home mom and I'm a full-time mom, and my toddler didn't nap today. We're kind of reaching a new point in her growth phase where she is awake a lot more. She doesn't sleep as much as she used to. So I'm having to figure out my schedule and how I'm going to shoot and do all of this kind of stuff. And I posted about it in my stories earlier on Instagram, and someone was like, just remember to take care of you. And I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. I think like what I should have tacked on to that is that this is something I love doing. I love making videos. I love making content. I really enjoy it. It's like such a fun creative outlet for me, and it is my care for myself. Like, I really enjoy this. So it's my hobby. And if you enjoy this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, because it makes it more possible for me to keep doing this, because I can work towards monetization, and it can kind of fund this hobby and the joy that I have bringing these types of videos to you. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.